Okay, I don't know what happened, but I recorded whatever we're going to do to the cloud. So let's move on and talk about um, witness or witnessing, and what is that? Uh, what does that mean to you? Or you gave us such a great uh, talk about refuge. So what does witnessing mean for you?
So, um, I so I'm a high school teacher and I'm also a dean of students, and so um, I think a lot about witnessing and a lot about bystanders, and what it means to see something, and then what your responsibility is in this situation. And so I think when I was looking in my book for poems of witnessing, I was realizing that something I want to come through in all of my poems of witnessing is also a sense of complicity. That you're never just seeing something. If you know about it, you're also complicit in it. And that doesn't mean you always have to do something, um, but what you've seen is some kind of call to action. And so that's something I'm wrestling with in my poems as well, is what's my role and what's my responsibility in the
And
things that I see.
yeah, and how does it work? Just all the stuff that's going on in schools. Obviously, it's in the news. So how does it work? I guess between your job responsibilities and your personal feelings about it. I guess I always feel there's, just in everyday life, you see stuff and maybe we should say stuff, but then there's this debate internally about should I say it or should I not say it? Should I intervene? I guess the question is, does your job responsibilities kind of override your personal feelings about taking action?
That's a really good question. I think in the best of times, no. If anything, my job responsibilities just sort of change the way I can take action, or the tone that I have to
Yeah,
use when I take action. So, for example, if something, you're alluding to school shootings, which I write a
yeah.
lot about. If something makes me very angry or very upset, my job responsibilities mean that I can't come at it from a place of being very angry or very upset. I have to come at it from a um how can I reassure my students, and how can I make sure my school is making good decisions? And that usually doesn't involve showing my own fear or anger, but rather resolve, and some sort of like problem solving mindset.
And how does that, you know, I always think, junior high kids are hard, but how does it work with high school kids? Do they appreciate your your resolving technique, or are
I
they
have
like,
to them. But I think so. I mean, I think a lot of students come to me with problems because they feel like I get things done. But I think so. I mean, the wonderful thing about high school students is they're already taking action in their own lives. And
yeah,
so students are able to lead, I'd say, things that are maybe a little more political in nature, like protests, et cetera. As a teacher and an administrator, I'm not in a position to lead a protest,
yeah,
but I can support my students who do it. And they're old enough to take that kind of action themselves, which is great.
and then uh, once again, I'm just delving into the school thing. Does your school have like a security guard or
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
like that?
Yeah. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
they must have pretty defined responses. Once again, we don't have to get into it. I'm just
Yeah,
I'm,
we do.
I'm just wondering.
We do. We're just a few miles from Columbine High School. Our head
Oof,
of security is the former head of security for Columbine. Our security members are three retired, one active police officers. Yeah, I mean, we appear to be a very open, flowing campus, but there's a lot of security measures, and because it's a private school, we have the resources to do that, that a lot of schools don't have.
Yeah, how many students?
It's just over 1,000. It's a
Yeah,
pre-K through 12.
yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So actually, this is a great segue into a poem, that one of the witnessing poems I wanted to read.
Yeah, fantastic.
So, so like I said, I'm a teacher. I'm also a mother. My kids are in school. So I'm coming at this as a parent and as a teacher, and then just as a citizen in this country. I live now. I didn't grow up in Colorado. I grew up in Texas, not far from Uvalde. My aunt, who's on this call, is in San Antonio. The school I went to growing up looks exactly like this school in Uvalde. Um, and so school shootings are things that I think about all the time. Um, a few years ago, I think none of you on this call are in Colorado. A few years ago, there was a young woman who flew from Florida to Colorado on the 20th anniversary of the Columbine massacre. She was going to take some action, and the FBI were alerted about her, and they shut down all of the schools in the Front Range in Colorado. And so we had a day of not going to school while there was a search for this young woman. And so this is a poem about that day.
Yeah.
Today I wonder, what if no one finds her? Today, a grown girl in the woods up the hill from Columbine. Today, a grown girl, head filled up by Columbine. Yesterday, a one-way fare, a flight across the nation. The day before, a one-way fare. The day before, a one-way fare. Every day she plans a trip to Columbine, alerting all the FBI. I'd sacrifice my privacy. I'd sacrifice my right to self-defense. I'd sacrifice my right to a militia. Today, a grown girl wearing black and camouflage. One rumor says she's naked. Today, will we be hostage to a corpse, a girl with arms, a girl with rights to bear those arms? Today, a manhunt for a teenage girl. Today, a teenage girl becomes a man who's hunted. Maybe with a wild look, maybe quiet in the back as her classmates knew her. Today, 400,000 kids stayed home, and mine were fine. Today, I told them someone wanted to hurt schools, and the police and principal had talked, and we were safe at home. Today, their father told them crazy woman and pump action shotgun. Today, both kids refused to go run errands. Today, they cried when I said, stop acting crazy. Today, they played an online game with guns. Today was like a snow day, only anxious and no snuggles. Today, an Uber driver took her up the mountain road. The news report says she hiked through feet and feet of snow. Today, my yoga teacher says, where there is chaos, there's a lesson. Today, I tell my older son that everything's okay, and he replies, there is no time that everything's okay. Today they find her shotgunned near a copse. Today a girl gone in a field. I wonder about what shoes she wore and if her feet felt cold. One day, not far away, the snow will melt to columbines.
Mm. Woo. Oh, so did they find her?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And very intense. Very just very, very descriptive, very visual.
Let's see. One more or two more? What do you think, John?
Well, we have to get off by midnight, so we have. No, you kidding?
One more then.
Yeah. Well, yeah. One long like Oedipus Rex. One
Okay,
long
yeah.
the
Okay.
Iliad or the
Yeah, I got one of
Odyssey.
those. I have one of
Yeah.
those.
10,000 word poems that. Oh boy.
Oh.
No, that was your poetry is so. No, it's just so many images. I feel like I'm watching little clips of a movie fly in front of my eyes. Very nice. So what do the flies want? That's what I'm now going to have to,
What do the flies
I'll
want?
have to email you afterwards so you can give me the insight.
Well, I think where that title came from, I was talking to a friend of mine about how to put a book in order, and his advice, which was really invaluable to me, was to think about the genre of the book, which was
Yeah.
something I had never thought about with
Yeah.
poetry. And so he read my manuscript at the time and he said, "Your genre is horror." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you're so right." Like it was not something I would have said like, "Oh, it's like a domestic something or other." But now I would call it like domestic horror.
Yeah.
And so he said, "You need to pick a title that's in that genre." And so going through my poems, he found lines and titles that kind of had that feel to them. And so I have a poem called What Flies Want Is Not. But he had suggested What Flies Want as a title. And when I heard that, I thought, oh yeah, that's it. That's the title. Because I think about what flies want is like the thing that's spoiled or the thing that's like just past
Yeah.
being like beautiful.
Yeah.
And that I think a lot of this book is about like the thing that's just past.
Mm.
And it's the thing that flies want.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll just read one more poem. This one is uh my Aunt Margot is here, and I this poem takes place in San Antonio. Several years ago, my family was in San Antonio for my uncle's I believe it was for was it his 80th birthday party, Margot, or was it 75? I can't remember. It was a big number. But we all went to San Antonio for his birthday. And we were staying at a hotel where there was an oil and gas conference happening. And this was in the lead up to the 2016 election. So this poem is called At the Hotel Pool. My boys are practicing jumps. One pretends to be Donald Trump, a fool falling unwittingly in. I shush them so as not to offend the oil and gas conference attendees. It's happy hour at the poolside bar. The men have traded slacks for cargo shorts, dry clean shirts with ties, for polos with the collars raised, like the preppy stars of my teenage dreams, all grown up, thinning hair, beer bellies, financial sense plus jostling, off colored jokes, mixed company, one woman for every cluster, keeping pace, breezy bluster, watered down margaritas, plastic cups, women still done up, linen pants, silk shirts, salon blown hair. A man picks one up because he can, makes a show of will he, won't he, throw her in. He does, then joins her. Splash. An onlooker whoops. My boys are confused. The doused woman bites a smile on her face to show she respects this oaf, her boss. He eyes the skin slick top, her designer bra. She will not fuss. Makes a wave or two. She can't leave the pool for half an hour. Excuse me. Until some, excuse me, sneeze, until some dry man thinks to bring her a towel. Her beige outfit, now see through. Some men look sidewise, more of a show. She's still their colleague, needs them to know her mind. The boy man pulls off his soaking shirt, throws it at another man, nonplussed, trying to escape the poolside bar. The bomb almost hits my 6-year-old. I turn and say, not a word. These are men who rule the world, the men I try not to offend, lest one picks me up here in front of my sons and throws me down.
Whew. Oh boy. Very nice. Very nice. What
I
someone
don't
said
know
some
who's running the Stockbridge Library
said,
comic,
oh,
but I love it. Ugh.
yeah,
Yes.
oh God. Yeah, yeah, I think no, I don't know. It may be Wendy's going to come on. No, no, that was your poems are so descriptive. I can visualize everything. Yeah, very, very nice, very nice. So, um, we still have plenty of time. Are there other poems that you'd like to read? I didn't know if you're, uh, I love the kind of fairy tale adaptation. So if there's,
Okay, I'll
we
read another
just,
fairy tale poem.
we just took our grandson to see Jack and the Beanstalk. So I read the real Jack and the Beanstalk book,
Uh-huh.
and we went to see the musical, and yeah, a little bit different.
It is.
Yeah, the guy who had the beans at the end says to Jack, "I am your father." Yeah, it was like, wait a second, that's not in the dialogue in the book. What
Yeah.
happened to the original? Yeah, it was I'm not gonna say heavily adapted, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's
All right.
fun.
So this poem, this is another fairy tale adaptation, and it's from the story The Robber Bridegroom. And a thing that always haunted me about this poem is so if you all or sorry, not about this poem, about this story. In this story, a girl is sent off to marry this mysterious man who lives in the woods, and when she gets there, he doesn't see her. She's kind of hiding with an old crone who just happens to live in the basement. And the man comes back, and he's part of this band of robbers. And in addition to robbing, they also, rape and kill. And so she witnesses this and sees this man is not who she thought he was. And he cuts off the finger of a woman that he has with them, and the woman, the bride to be, steals the finger and runs away. And so then when it's time for the wedding and the bridegroom comes to the wedding, she says, "Well, first I want to tell you all about this dream I had." And she describes the whole scene of what had happened. And as the bridegroom gets more and more agitated, she keeps saying, "It was only a dream, my love. It was only a dream, my love." And the finger also is really creepy and interesting because the finger can sing and can tell the story of what happened. So this was another fairy tale that I read this one as a child. Hans My Hedgehog I didn't read till I was an adult, but The Robber Bridegroom I think is in a lot of collections. And it wasn't until I was older that I was like, what a disturbing story for kids to read. I mean, as most fairy tales are. So,
Is there like a horror non-grim book of
I
fairy
mean,
tales?
every
I feel like you found
fairy
it.
tales is horror. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those Rackham illustrations are really creepy as well. So, this one is called Song for My Daughter. Because my father pushed me down the path alone, because my bridegroom marked the trail with ash, because a wolf in the woods acts not from contempt, but takes what's his, because every mouth satisfies a body's hunger, because when asked, I will say, "It was a dream, my love, a tale I heard." Because the crone hushed and hid me while tending her pot, stewed marrow they'd suckled since birth. Because she was once also a girl, but hands can form habits, and recipes spells, and good mothers feed even their raw wicked ones. Because with man as my savior, I was safest alone, because the bird in the cage sang words he had learned from the previous girl, because leashed as she was, she never said no, because her finger, severed, continued to sing, and I wanted to use its song as my proof, because a woman's word can never be proof, because I had no wounds on my skin when I stumbled home, because my father slept sound on a pillowcase filled with dowry gold, and I would not wake him from this particular dream, because you've heard this before, where boys will be beasts and girls will be cloth, torn to ribbons, tied tightly in knots or in bows.
Ooh, So are you teaching like fairy tale literature in the high
Oh
school?
no. No, no,
No,
no.
no, these are like I must have read the vanilla version of Grimm's
No.
fairy tales. No, listen,
All
right,
right.
very intense, very intense.
Yeah. It's a dark book.
But is it a specific book?
Oh, Grimm's book. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, good. My family just got home, so I'm putting on my headphones. Yeah, we just had like an older version of the collected Grimm's fairy tales, so they weren't sanitized. Um, they're just, nice and disturbing. Yeah, I'd have to find it online to
Yeah,
see what
yeah,
it is.
that's not just
Yeah.
uh, um yeah, witnessing. Yeah, the fairy tales, there's a lot of witnessing, not a lot of
Mhm.
refuge.
Right, true.
So
True.
I know we still let me just, go back to the audience here. If anybody has any questions or more comments, Margot, obviously we want to hear about Emily, the early years. So just jump in there. It's probably in a Grimm's fairy tale. I can read about it. So I don't know why I'm asking Margot, but uh,
Margaret
anybody, what's
Margaret
that?
taught me how to do the Charleston.
How did you do the what?
Charleston?
Oh, the Charleston?
Mhm.
Like
I
people
don't
still
remember.
I do.
Wow. You should
people
give us a
still doing the
demonstration.
Charleston.
Yeah, I haven't practiced in a while.
Okay. Well, your poetry is just totally amazing.
Oh, thanks, Margot.
I like to hear you read it and for you to say something about it beforehand because I'm
Mhm.
not a good poetry reader. So it really is enlightening. I had no idea that happened during your Uncle Joe's birthday party over
Oh,
Was
right.
that
Just one afternoon when we took the kids to the pool before dinner. Yeah.
oh my gosh. I don't think I was there.
No, it was just me and the kids. Yeah, and
Yeah.
all the oil and gas conference attendees. Yeah.
Oh my God. Was that at the Westin? At the
Is that
Westin,
where we were staying? It was at whatever hotel we were
it
in.
was where
Yeah.
your parents were staying.
Yeah, yeah, with the pool on
Yeah.
the roof. Yep.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sorry you had to witness that.
That's okay.
Or that they had to witness.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, that was interesting. I'm dying to read your whole book.
Oh, thanks,
Yeah.
Margot.
Mhm. Great.
So,
Very
so
powerful.
yeah, I'm sorry, Margot, I cut you off there.
I'm just saying, she's such a powerful poet, I think.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
So Emily, how did these, I think obviously there's, a lot of central themes to your poetry. So how does a poem start for you? How does it, um, I, once again, I think it's interesting, obviously for the audience, some people have a defined or try to have a defined writing practice. I think, the universe tries to challenge you about, sitting down at 5 a.m. every morning. But how do ideas come to you that then kind of become poems?
Um, so there's kind of two answers to that. I would say it's a lot of like just what's the thing that won't go away? Like what's the thing that keeps recurring or occurring to me. Usually there's a poem in that or something that I want to explore further. I think the best poems for me are grappling with a question, and they don't necessarily answer that question, but there's something that I'm trying to understand through the poem. And so the things that are bothering me are the things where there's something I need to explore, understand. But I'll say, because I have my notebook right here, what I do usually, I just write like prose. Like
Look at
I
this.
mean, I just write. So it looks like this. It doesn't look like poetry. And then I go back and I read through it. And usually what'll start a poem. so I don't usually like just start writing a poem. I just kind of dump stuff into a journal. What I'll start a poem is that I'll look back through and I'll find like a line or an image or something that usually it's like the music of it that seems interesting to me. And then I'll take that and start shaping it into a poem. But this is it's very just kind of automatic writing, like just getting ideas down. During the pandemic, I had a really hard time writing. So um, I just set myself a timer. So no 5 a.m. for me. I'm not an early morning person. But I set a timer for 11 minutes every day because I figured I'd eat up like 1 minute of that just like opening my pen and so that it would ultimately be like 10 minutes a day. So set a timer for 11 minutes and I just write for 11 minutes. And then that just helped me fill notebooks with stuff. And then periodically I go back and start pulling poems out of it.
Nice, really nice. Yeah, excellent penmanship there. I was
Oh,
going to
thank
say,
you.
yeah.
It really varies depending on my mood. So I can tell kind of if I was in like where my mental state while writing, depending on how nice
Yeah,
my
if you can read it,
cursive
your
is.
mental state is not good. If it's clear, then you're.
Right, right.
So if you're trying to, it's interesting. So if you're trying to solve a problem
Mhm.
or work a problem out in the writing, it must take a while, right? It must take a while for that kind of, if the poem is now answering or informing part of your problem, it takes a while to kind of for that poem to form out. I'm just wondering, it, you must not have any Alka-Seltzer problems that need resolution before the bubbles stop. If
I
you're,
don't, yeah, I mean, I don't know that any of my poems ever answer anything. I think they're
yeah,
just kind of like probing at the edges of a problem. And yeah, I think if I were finding answers, it would take forever. But
yeah,
because I'm more uh, just trying to understand the thing, like it's to like, for example, to think about the poem about the young woman who came to Colorado. I'm not answering anything there. I'm exploring this idea of what's my role in all of this. What's my role as a parent? How do I explain this to my
yeah,
children? What's my role as a human being who has compassion for this young woman, but is also incredibly angry with her and angry with the nation that enables this kind of action. Yeah, I don't think I come to any answers
yeah.
about that, but I'm just exploring it.
And how old are your kids now?
They're 9 and 11.
And did they go to the school that you teach in?
No, they don't. No, they go to, I live pretty far away from where I teach, so they go to schools in our neighborhood.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. Good. Anybody else comments or Michael? Go ahead.
Yeah, John, I have a question for Emily. First, Emily, beautiful poems. I really admire how you can take something like a convention or a headline of somebody coming to Colorado and then just kind of take that right down to something intimate with details that really poke at some tough subjects. And so I really appreciate that in your work. I noticed that in a couple of the poems that you repeat the first line,
Mm-hmm.
and I was curious about that. I thought it was very effective. I was curious about how that looks on the page. Are those new lines, like every time you start with because, are those
Mm-hmm.
each a new line? Okay, and I think today, yesterday,
Yep.
the day
Mm-hmm.
before. Oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
great. I mean, it's so effective, by the way. It's just amazing the way you've pulled that together with the repetition. I love it.
Thank you. I think, yeah, I think that litany form often builds momentum, right? And then creates an expectation, which then you can disrupt for different effects. And not that I'm thinking about it in that super conscious way when I'm doing it, but when I read other people's poems that do that, I see that effect. And that's what I'm feeling as I'm, as I'm writing it. So I don't know how, yeah, I think you can
Yep,
see
I
this.
can see it.
So
Yep.
this is the song for my daughter, and you can see all the becauses are pulled out to the side. So they are all beginning. They're all beginning. They're not all, some of them are couplets. They're like couplets, tercets, and quatrains, all beginning with the because. So relatively short little segments that start that way. And then in the other poem, that's written more like a prose poem. And so let's see, I'll find it. And that it's written as a prose poem, and it's really more in sentences. So they're not the beginnings of lines. The todays are more scattered through the poem. But if I were to, I mean, it's really like 3/4 of the sentences in that poem begin with today. A few yesterdays, a few the day befores, and then a few other things that don't have today. But the majority of the poem, the sentences start there. And I think for that poem, because a lot of it was about that day, but then what are the things that led up to it, and then what are the implications of it?
Yeah, it's wonderful. I also, I thought perhaps you may have been doing some journaling first, because it felt,
Oh,
you
definitely.
can feel the presence of a story in the poems.
Mhm.
And what a great way to do that, and what a great idea for folks to journal and go back and find where that piece is that you can pull out.
Yeah, it's I very rarely these days can like sit down and write something that looks like a poem. Even knowing that it's a rough draft, but just I've been challenging myself to try that a little bit more, like just to write in lineation, to write with line breaks and see what happens. But usually I have to find that later.
Yeah, great stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are all your books, Emily, published, with one, publisher?
No. So I have two full-length collections, and the first one, House of Sugar, House of Stone, was published by the Center for Literary Publishing,
Yeah.
which is a press run by Colorado State University.
Yeah.
And then this one, What Flies Want, was published by the University of Iowa Press.
Oh, nice. Good. No, fantastic. Scary. I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight.
I'm sorry,
So,
John. Well, you need to stay up late to watch that Celtics game.
yeah, I gotta watch the
So,
Celtics. Yeah, I can't go to bed
Whistle.
till midnight
Yeah,
anyway. So,
so this all works out. It's
yeah,
good
that's
that
it. Yeah, the whole thing is I would have needed caffeine. Now
right now
all
you
I need to
don't.
do is
Yeah.
watch the replay of this recording.
Okay, good.
I'll be
good,
up till
good.
3:00.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Okay, well, I'm glad I could help you out.
No, Emily, I can't tell you what a pleasure this has been. Really.
Thanks, John.
The poems have been, Michael said it, Donna said it, vulnerability. I think the visual, the storytelling. Yeah, you're right. Taking a headline and turning it into a whole poem where you're playing a lot of stuff out from different roles that you see yourself. So, wow. Yeah, I think I got a double charge in the poetry wall this week. I may be overcharged now, so
Okay, good.
yeah, it's good. Well, I tell you, I have a telehealth appointment at 1.
Okay,
So I'm going to, I think, sign us off a couple minutes
Okay,
early.
that sounds fun.
Emily, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for being here.
And
Enjoyed it so much. Enjoyed it very much.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Margot.
Mhm. How can we get the recording for this?
Oh,
for the-
good question.
I think, Margot, if you put your email in the chat right now,
Okay,
I'll send you the recording. I mean, Emily's also going to have the recording.
Yeah, Margot,
Margot?
I can make sure to send it to you
okay,
when I get it. Okay.
All
All right.
right.
Thanks, Mary Catherine. Thanks,
Yeah,
Julie
great.
and Nancy. Thank you for coming. Thanks,
you.
Donna and Michael.
Yeah,
thank you for inviting me. That's wonderful. Loved
Yeah.
it.
Yay.
yeah, very good. All right, take care.
All
Thanks,
right. Thank
everyone.
you.
Yeah,
See you guys.
bye-bye.
Thank you.